She left her babies alone in the car.
She was charged with child abuse.
Her story went viral.
You were homeless.
Yes. My mugshot became famous because I was crying.
She received $114,000 in donations.
But did any of that money
The funds are being used for a good cause.
go to her kids?
She's got new clothes, going out to eat, Netflix.
Is any or all of that true? Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Thank you. Okay, I want you to imagine it's a sunny day and the temperature is around 80 degrees. You're in your car, you're sitting in a parking lot waiting to go inside an office building for a job interview at noon. Now you're excited because this job could be your big break. The break you've been dreaming about since losing your old job and becoming homeless. But there's a catch. There's something stopping you from walking in to nail that job interview. Your babies. Your sitter fell through and you can't bring your kids into your interview. It's now 12:10. You're already late. The clock is ticking. What do you do? Do you leave your children in the car for what you were told would be just a 15-minute interview and a potentially life-changing opportunity? Here's a Google map. It's a view of the layout. Here's your car, and here's the building where you need to go. There are only 130 steps separating you from your car and a job that could provide a better life for your family. Hey, the kids are still napping. They're asleep. My guest today was faced with that choice, and the decision she made changed her life forever.
The week of the interview, I had traded babysitting with a close family friend to make sure that I had someone available for the children. On March 20th, 2014, I buckled my 1-year-old and my 6-month-old.
All right. All buckled already?
When I arrived at the babysitter's home, there was no answer. No one ever came to the door. I became frantic, but I knew I couldn't miss this interview. I was told the interview would take about 15 minutes. I got in the car and started driving. At that point, the boys had fallen asleep. I decided I'm gonna go into this interview.
I parked the car in the parking lot along the street.
When I stepped out of the car, peeked in the back window at the boys, and said, 15 minutes, let's go. And the clock started. About 7 minutes into the interview, the gentleman I was supposed to meet, let me bring my manager in to meet you. So as the manager's talking, he says, well, this seems great. Why don't we introduce you to the trainer? And the trainer comes in and he's explaining, well, this is what you're gonna make this year. So, I mean, they're giving me the next 5 years in a blueprint. But I honestly couldn't hear anything he was saying because my mind just kept saying, I've got to get out of here. It was going so well that I knew it was my job. You know this job is going to take care of family. How do you stop that? How do you say, stop the interview? Because I need to go. So I stayed and I listened until he was done talking. And then I got out of there as fast as I could.
After I finished the interview, I was on top of the world. And as soon as I turned that corner to the parking lot, my life came crashing down.
Well, it came crashing down all right, and the cuffs clanked around her wrist.
911, what is your emergency?
There is a baby in a car
by itself at my work.
A tearful mother behind bars facing child abuse charges tonight.
Police say Shanisha Taylor left her little baby and little boy outside a Scottsdale business yesterday. A passerby spotted them and called police.
She heard a baby crying inside, so she looked inside. She saw what turns out to be a 2-year-old boy and a 6-month-old boy.
Those children sweating profusely in the hot car. Police and firefighters got the little boy and his baby brother out, but it would be another 45 minutes before they say Taylor came out of the office.
She said she was homeless. She needed the job. She felt as though she had no other option.
Tonight, all 3 of Taylor's children in CPS custody.
As we know by now, Shanisha's story did not end there. When people saw this crying mom's mugshot, the donations began to pour in.
I spent 11 days in jail, but my mugshot became famous because I was crying.
A Valley mother arrested for leaving her young children inside her car during a job interview is getting a lot of attention around the country, and it's not all bad.
After about 5 days in jail, I found out that a woman named Amanda had started a fundraising page.
She started an online campaign on YouCaring.com for the struggling mother.
Like everybody else, I saw the mugshot, and the mugshot really touched me.
I was completely overwhelmed.
In the last week, the donations have been pouring in, thousands each day.
The fund closed out at about $114,900. In May of 2014 is when I got my first deposit from the fundraiser. It was $51,000, more than I'd ever had at any point of my life. At that point, I felt like we're going to be okay.
Okay, so Shanisha, this was a dilemma for you, right? I mean, if we turn the clock way back, you knew it wasn't a good idea to leave your children in the car. That wasn't what you would want to do.
It wasn't what I would have wanted to do.
I mean, that wasn't a good plan. That wasn't what you would plan to do.
No.
And when you did, you believe you're going to be in there 15 minutes, right?
Yes.
That seems like an incredibly short period of time for a job interview. I mean, how can a job interview last 15 minutes?
Well, it was initially scheduled as a pre-interview just to see if you were a good fit for the position.
Okay, it's in March?
In March.
When you look at what happens, and I want everybody to know this, outside air temperature 85, elapsed time 40 minutes, you're talking about an interior temperature inside the car. It's now up, it can get up to 123, 124, 125 degrees inside the car. And your windows were cracked a little bit.
Yes.
They said whenever the police did get there, your youngest was how old?
6 months.
6 months. That the child was sweating profusely and crying hysterically.
Yes.
Shanisha pled guilty to 1 count of child abuse, a Class 6 felony, and domestic violence offense in exchange for a prosecutor's dismissal of a 2nd count of child abuse, and faces at least 10 years supervised probation and completion of treatment of programs for domestic violence offenders and parenting classes. There were negotiations going on where this whole thing could have gone away, right?
Yes.
What happened?
The negotiations would not have been for the benefit of the children. They wanted a large portion of the funds to be set aside in an educational trust.
How's that not for the benefit of the children?
They wanted me to put aside funds that would only apply if they went to college. Now, I have 3 children. So chances are 1 out of 3 children may not go to college. In the event one of them said, I'm going my own way, I'm my own person, I want to start a business, their funds are frozen.
Okay, and then they wanted them to set up a child care fund.
Yes.
And you had the money to do both of those things given what had been donated, right?
Yes.
But before this happened, you said you were in a situation where you were homeless.
Right.
And you were having to pick up cans to turn in for money to get gas to get to the job interview.
Right.
Okay, now they've collected $114,000, and after some fees for the collection of the money and everything, you're going to wind up with over $100,000.
Yes.
And so they're saying put 30 in child care and 30 in an educational trust.
Right.
And these felony charges will go away.
Yes.
So why would you not say, great?
At the point that they'd requested that I put the $60,000 away, I'd had to pay consultation fees, legal fees. I paid 1 year of rent to make sure that we wouldn't be homeless again. I paid the necessary things in order to progress in my case to get to where things would be resolved. So when they asked to put away the $60,000, that would have left us with such a short amount that we would have been right back in the same situation within months.
I want to hear from you. I have a poll question. Have you ever left your young child unattended in a car for even a few minutes? Now, be honest. Tweet hashtag Dr. Phil yes or hashtag Dr. Phil no. Shanisha says she feels she has been treated unfairly by the courts, but her former attorney says she knew exactly what she agreed to do. We'll talk to him when we come back.
We were able to get a deal for Shanisha that allowed her to have her felony charges completely dismissed.
Taylor was asked to put $60,000 into a trust fund for her kids to avoid prosecution. She did not do that.
So charges have now been reinstated.
My lawyer, Mr. Taylor, betrayed me.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
Did you kill your mother?
Yeah. A teen convicted.
You then set the house on fire with your brother still in the house.
For a brutal murder.
You beat her to death with what?
Sledgehammer. The exclusive prison interview.
Did you laugh when you were hitting her?
Yeah.
Why did you kill her?
That's tomorrow.
When Shanisha was arrested, she was charged with child abuse felonies. We were able to get a deal for Shanisha that allowed her to have her felony charges completely dismissed. Part of the agreement to protect the kids was to put money into one big trust.
Taylor was asked to put $60,000 into a trust fund for her kids to avoid prosecution. She did not do that. She was then asked to put $40,000 in the trust fund. She did not do that either.
So charges have now been reinstated.
My lawyer, Mr. Taylor, betrayed me. I was asked to provide a budget to the court. Mr. Taylor told me to inflate that budget so that would justify me needing to put less money into the trust fund.
The budget was used to help Shanisha reduce the amount of the trust from $60,000 to $40,000.
A couple days later, my attorney turned around and sent that budget to the news media.
The out-of-work mom reports spending more than $4,000 a month, which works out to about $50,000 a year.
Mr. Taylor made it seem as if I was misusing the fund money that was given to me. In my opinion, Mr. Taylor's a dirtbag.
So, you're the dirtbag she's referring to.
I guess so.
So you had two objectives. One, clearly, was to get the children back with her because you lost custody of the children at the time.
Yes, I did.
So you wanted to regain custody. And then there were these charges that could have, in a worst-case scenario, landed her in prison, correct?
Correct, yes. She had 2 counts of felony charges.
All right, so you wanted to get the children back in her custody and get rid of those charges, get the charges dismissed. You were able to make a deal to achieve both of those things.
That's correct.
All right, but you feel like still he didn't do you a good job. Where did he betray you? Where did he let you down that caused you to have such bad feelings towards him?
There were many times in the case where I expressed concern. There were times in the case where I told him, this isn't a good deal. This isn't going to help us. If I put the money away and we have nothing to take care of us in the next 2 months, what do we do? I just came out of the net of having my children taken away. So I'm walking a very fine line. So that means there is no room for error. There is no, you can take this chance, you could possibly take that chance. It's, you walk that very straight line to make sure that what you do keeps your children in this house.
You feel that at the time you were going for this job, that you were absolutely desperate.
Absolutely.
Then, out of the sky, because some caring woman steps up on your behalf and starts this crowdfunding, you get this money, and you say, I don't know if I deserve this, don't know where to discuss it, but I got it, and I want to hang on to this for my children here. I don't want to lock this away for 16 years. But you made the problem, and if your lawyer says we can make this go away, and it's for the benefit of your children, what do you do in the ensuing 16 years? You get a job. You pay your way. You do what you just created this job opportunity. Why would you rely on that gifted money rather than getting a job?
Because at this point, I'd been interviewing, I'd been sending out applications, I'd been going all over town in order to get a job so that I can leave what we had as savings, leave it as a safety net, and I will continue to take care of us.
But you're talking about a safety net while you're in a desperate situation. That's like putting up smoke alarms while your house is on fire. Don't you put out the felony fire right now instead of putting up a safety net? Was this a deal of a lifetime?
It was a deal of a lifetime. I've been practicing law, like I said, for over 10 years. She was charged with 2 counts of felony child abuse. Most people go to prison, go to jail, have 2 felonies on this record. This would have dismissed the whole case. And
why didn't she take the deal, in your opinion?
I mean, just to let everybody know, she has waived attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, she's given permission for you to speak openly about the case here today.
I never want to, talk bad about my client. And I respect Ms. Taylor. I respect all my clients. But, I mean, I don't know. That's something that she would have to ask. And to address the budget factor, Dr. Phil, the budget was released, and this is court documents. The budget was attached to a motion. I never released anything. I didn't release the budget. But we had to give the budget to the prosecutor because the prosecutor was wondering, where is this money going? Where's this money? So I wanted to show in good faith she was spending the money properly in order to help support herself. Unfortunately, the media got it, and they put it on the news.
And so people thought that was too much.
Right.
Right? And this is what the court released.
Mm-hmm.
Did he tell you to inflate the numbers?
Yes.
Did you tell her to inflate the numbers?
No, I told her to show an accurate description of the budget so that way we can negotiate. That's how I was able to get it from 60 to 40 to benefit her and her kids. Mm-hmm. But the big thing about this case is we got the deal of a lifetime because it got her kids back and was able to, dismiss the 2-class felonies. So she had her felonies dismissed, she had her kids back, and I still don't know till this day, why didn't she just fund the trust?
Well, Shanisa says she has been slammed in the media about misusing donations. She says the claims were sparked by a man who was one of her earliest supporters. Why would he do that to her? Well, we'll meet him next. We'll be right back.
Shanisha was not 100% honest with what was going on with the money that was raised for her.
She received $114,000. Where is that money?
She's got designer shirts, designer pants. She has a new weave. I was flabbergasted.
Shanisa is the Phoenix mom who pled guilty to child abuse for leaving her kids in a hot car last March while she had a job interview. Shanisa is here today because she says she wants to set the record straight. She claims there has been a lot of false allegations about her in the media. She says there's one man in particular who she blames for turning the world against her.
When Shanisha first approached me, I was under the impression that she was homeless. She was living out of a car completely on her own with her children. When Shanisha came to us with that information, we held a press conference. Days later, the county attorney held a counter press conference where he revealed that she had a residential address, her children's father lived in the area, that she wasn't homeless, and that she was part-time employed. Then Shanisha was not 100% honest with what was going on with the money that was raised for her. People were calling the same, Reverend, she's got designer shirts, designer pants. She has a new weave. I went back and looked, and indeed, she had experienced a bit of a change. Then I got a call from a recording studio. She and the father of her children had been spending money to finish a rap album. I've never received a call like that in my life. I was flabbergasted when I heard the money was spent for a rap album. I was done.
Well, Reverend Maupin says he reported what he was told and felt Shanisha's donors had a right to know where their money was spent.
She received $114,000 in online donations, then could not or would not put $40,000 in a trust fund for her kids to avoid prosecution. And for weeks, people have asked, where is that money?
I never really shared with anyone what I spent the money on, but I feel like at this point, I have to say what I've done with the money. The first thing I did was I paid 1 year's rent, knowing that I needed to secure a home for my children. The rent for 1 year was $13,000. It cost me about $7,000 to furnish the house. My bills, utilities, car rental, and food total about $2,100 a month. I spent about $2,500 to get clothes, shoes, toys. The Reverend went to the media to say that I'd spent all of my money on designer clothes, designer bags. I have one purse. It usually doubles as a diaper bag. This one here I got from Ross for $20. Most of my wardrobe came from a discount store. Here's one, $16.99. They were saying that I'd spent $6,000 to help fund my boyfriend's rap album. He doesn't rap, probably couldn't rap to save his life. The media completely bought into every one of Reverend Maupin's lies. It was absolutely terrible.
You didn't go through her closets and check what she purchased or didn't purchase. You reported what people told you.
She was well known. So people say, Reverend, she's in my store buying hair. Reverend, she's got new clothes. Reverend, you know, I got the call about people about her financing the record deal. I wasn't soliciting those calls. Then her budget came out. The media itself began to ask, Netflix, going out to eat 2 or 3 times a week, sending money on a regular basis to your sister. How does that factor into a budget for someone who's trying to survive?
Right. And is any or all of that true?
I didn't go into any stores to buy hair. I didn't buy designer clothes because the fact of the matter is there was so much scrutiny on me at that point that I barely left the house. People want to know that the funds that they gave to you are being used for a good cause.
And what do you want them to know?
That they've absolutely been used for a good cause. They've gone to the maintenance of the children, the care of the children, and to make sure that we're home, we're safe, and that we are not struggling.
Okay, you think she should have funded the trust?
Absolutely. This is not the way this should have worked out.
It's not a good deal.
Not at all.
All right. Now, Shanisha says no one wants to hire her because of her ruined reputation. But Reverend Maupin says people who knew her story still wanted to help.
I can't get a job to support my kids because people believe the lies that the media has reported about me.
One of the reasons she had employment offers was because of the attention surrounding her case. People called me. People called the girl that started her fund. People called her lawyer. We want to put this woman to work. Restaurants, hotels. We want to see her working.
The job referrals for part-time jobs, weekend jobs, $10 an hour, $11 an hour. I couldn't do that.
I can't work because the job's at night. I can't work because it's not what I want to do. I can't. It's become a matter of not what is Shanisha doing, but a game of who's to blame. You know, there's only ever been one person to blame because there was only ever one person who committed a crime, who left their kids in the car, who didn't fund the trust. There's only been one person who did that.
I'm being singled out and vilified.
It's time to stop lying.
The job offers that have come your way, you're saying these have not all been legitimate or quality job offers, correct?
I've had job referrals. That's a big difference from a job offer.
Fair enough. All right, Reverend Maupin, thank you for being here. All right, next, the online community has been involved in Shanisha's story since day one. What do two very different critics have to say? Stay tuned.
When I heard that Shanisha Taylor was being forced to put her crowd-funded money into two trusts that she couldn't access for 18 years, I was furious.
March 27, 2014, I created a video in support of Shanisha Taylor. But see, soon after that, she was spending money on fancy clothes, going fancy places, and I even heard she put some money into her boyfriend's rap career. All of this got me upset. Listen here, diva. We didn't give you that money so you could go and make your boyfriend a rapper. And once since I hear about you turning down jobs, unemployed people don't turn down jobs. You know what you can do? You can give all the money back. We'll take it.
Well, that was online video blogger, a.k.a. vlogger Tim, talking about Shanisha's alleged behavior. He's joining us in the audience along with a very outspoken supporter of Shanisha, B. Cayenne Bird. Tim, let me start with you. Have you heard anything today that changes your thoughts or opinions about this?
I mean, it does, Dr. Phil, but the way I look at it, it's, what you talking about, Shanisha? You were given money. Anybody in this audience would have took and did what they needed to do to avoid legal trouble. And it sounds to me like we're getting a lot of excuses instead of just taking responsibility and saying, hey, you know what? I'm imperfect. I screwed up. That I can take. Most people don't know, originally I made a support video for you to my subscribers. I went out on a limb for you, and then you sawed off the limb. That's how I feel.
And you say several thousand people saw that video, and you think a lot of them gave money.
I do.
You don't have an accounting of it, but you think a lot of them gave money.
I think a lot of them did, yes.
Okay. And you think she should have funded the trust, got out of the felony category, and moved on?
Yes.
What do you say to him about that?
I think you started with saying, I'm imperfect and I messed up. What you have to consider is there were a lot of requirements that were put on me by the court. And we're not talking about just one case. We're talking about two cases running concurrently. So when they're telling you, go to this place, go to that place, take care of this, take care of that, and you're taking care of all of these obligations that they're telling you to take care of. Now, we're starting from April going until October when they say, put this money away. So you start with an amount of about $101,000.
It sounds like more excuses, Shanisha. Sounds like more of not your job.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all.
And I'm not here to beat up on you. I'm here to stand up and say that for all the people who feel exactly how I feel. Based on what we heard, it's not enough. $30,000, you got 70. I'll take that deal. Will you take that deal? She'll take that.
Okay. By the time you've taken care of all of these things that you've been required to take care of in order to get these two cases dismissed, and you get to an amount where you have about $68,000 and they're telling you put away $60,000 of that.
Do it.
Okay. You do that. And here you are, still looking for a job.
You were looking for a job to begin with.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. That's all.
But it started with you can get interviews, you can get, viable things that will be able to take care of your family too. You're not even getting called in for the interviews
But the point is now you're a convicted felon.
Right.
That's the problem. And this is what Tim's talking about. And this is rough. You spent $13,000 on a year's rent paid in advance, $7,000 on furnishings. You said you spent $2,500 on clothes, shoes, and toys for the kids. $8,000 on legal fees and requirements because you had to do 2 diversion programs for substance abuse and parenting classes. You said you put $45,600 into a trust fund, and you showed us the deposit slip for that, so we know that was in there. I don't know how much is in there now because we asked you to show us what's in there today, and you chose not to do that. Then you said you spent $83.20 on child care, $1,200 on parenting classes, substance abuse classes $260. Estimated taxes, this just be estimated, would be $28,000, and then you said you spent about $2,100 a month on bills and expenses, just rough. So we annualize that out for a year, would be $2,520. You've now spent $36,110 more than you got. That means you must have gotten into this area here.
Not at all.
Or you're not paying this.
No.
So you spent more than you had already, so you said, I couldn't pay that money into the fund or I'd have been broke. You're broke anyway, and you're a felon.
It's the biggest example of government overreach that I've ever in my life witnessed. I don't know why they think that they have any business to the money that we raise, and everybody's telling her how to spend it.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, the teen who killed his mother with a sledgehammer.
You hit her again and again.
I wanted to make sure she was dead.
Why did you kill her?
That's tomorrow.
Cayenne, what do you want to say?
Oh, I have so much to say. I'm just sitting here boiling over. I was in on this campaign from day one. I thought it was a wonderful idea. People getting together to help this mother who made a bad decision. There's no doubt about that. She should not have left the children in the car, but they were living in the car 24/7. I checked with the Weather Service records. The temperature that day at noon was 71 degrees. It was not 84.
Are you saying that if it's 71, lock your kids in the car and go to a job interview? What the hell are you saying?
I'm saying it was a 71-degree day in March.
So what?
And they were living in that car.
So what?
24/7.
Your point is lock your kids in the car if that's your house?
No, that's not the point.
Okay. Well, let's get to your point.
The point is
okay, well, let's get to the point.
That they made it worse than it actually is.
Well,
it's a lot of difference between an interior temperature of 95 and 124.
I really don't think this is where you want to make your fight.
Then I'll move on.
Thank you. I'm helping you here. I'm trying to help you.
I know you are.
Come on.
I looked for the court records of Benjamin Taylor ever putting up a fight for her to keep her crowd funds. We worked hard to raise that money for her. It was never intended for the local government to come in and take that money away from her, to seize control and freeze her out of it. It's the biggest example of government overreach that I've ever in my life witnessed. I don't know why they think that they have any business to the money that we raise. Wasn't even raised in Arizona, most of it. Came from all over the United States. So all of a sudden, she has money, not very much money for a family of 4, and everybody's telling her how to spend it. It was an unconditional gift. And we wanted her to have that gift of financial independence so that she could make it through a very rough time.
But let me tell you something. When you break the law, when you show that you don't have the judgment to keep your children out of harm's way, then somebody with authority does need to step in and start policing what you're doing. Okay? And what they did was not come in and say, okay, you've got that money that people gave you. They didn't come in and say, okay, so you need to give that to us. What they said is, that is going to be reserved for the children. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay. Then just go to jail. Because you created a crime. You committed a crime against defenseless children.
She committed a crime.
So go to jail and keep your money. Or you can commit it to the welfare of your children. It's your choice.
The intention of the donors was for her to put on a good defense, to stand up for all single mothers.
He gave her a good defense. He walked her out with her children in hand and a clean record. Seriously. The legal arena is outcome determinative. The objectives were, get me my children and keep me out of jail. Objectives 1 and 2, he got them both. That was the objective.
He did not fight for her to keep the money that people wanted her to have so that she wouldn't be homeless anymore.
Did they give her the money, or did they give it for her children?
They gave it for her to be comfortable through the fight that she had to go through and for defense. They never gave it for a college fund 16 years from now. She needed the money right now.
You don't know that, neither do I. We have to take a break. Coming up, we'll talk to the woman who started the online fundraising page. She has some questions of her own. We'll be right back. We can't do this show without you, our studio audience.
If you are going to be in the Los Angeles area and you would like free tickets, go to drphil.com and click on Be in the Audience.
Or you can call 323-461-PHIL. That's 323-461-7445. Shanisha wanted to talk to me today in an effort to help clear her name and set the record straight once and for all. One of the things I've heard her say so far is, be very clear, I did not go out and blow this money on frivolous things. No, I didn't fund these trusts in a way that was dictated to me by the government, because I felt like I needed to keep available funds for my children in the here and now, as opposed to 16 years from now. Fair summary?
Fair.
One thing that is troubling to me is I have seen an email that said, I tell you what, if you do fund this, I believe it was at $45,000. It was the email I saw, not 40, at $45,000. By such and such a date, we're good to go. Then that date got moved up because the $45,000 got put in, but the date got moved up. Deal fell through, and just yesterday she pled guilty. Now a convicted felon, looking at 10 years probation and as much as $100,000 in restitution to the victims. The victims in this case are the children. So she may have to pay as much as $100,000 back in some way. Joining us via phone right now is Amanda, who actually started the online fund for Shanisha despite being a complete stranger at the time. Amanda, are you there?
Yes.
How do you feel about the current situation with Shanisha and the fund that you started and where things are today?
I feel terrible the way it all has turned out because, like everybody's saying, the end result obviously is horrible because, you know, she has to pay all that money back. Now she has felonies. Basically, it didn't turn out how any of us wanted. We did want this to go towards her children. We did want it to go towards the care of the children. You know, so do I think that the government, or do I think the court should have had any say in how the money was spent towards the funds or anything? No, absolutely not. But the fact that it was agreed and then just not followed up on is where I got upset. You know, that if you want to fund the trust, why did you agree to it?
If you had this to do over again today, would you do it?
Absolutely.
And to Amanda's point, Amanda was right. I mean, Ms. Taylor signed a deal. She agreed to this deal. It wasn't something that was forced down her throat. She wanted to fund the trust when we first started this case. And when it came down to put up or shut up to fund the trust, she didn't.
What's your recollection of that?
The document that I signed said that I would put $30,000 away for an educational trust. I would set up a child care trust, and I would attend parenting and substance abuse classes. All which was done by the date that I was given.
Why was it date sensitive to you, by the way? What difference did it make? If the money was gifted to you, what difference did it make what date you put it in?
Because I was still attempting to find a job and make sure that we had means outside of it, to make sure that we would be okay, so I put away all that we have now.
So you weren't going to turn it loose till you had a job?
Not necessarily, no. I just wanted to secure that we had something else coming in. I just came out of CPS custody, so I'm going to give away the little bit that we do have and risk CPS coming back in and saying, okay, you're broke again, now what? We're going to take them back. So you've done all you can to make sure that your children stay home. You give away all that you have that takes care of the children. Why risk that?
Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
You're a one-day felon.
Right.
If you had this all to do over again, would you have just funded those trusts and moved on?
And risk not being able to take care of my children? No.
So you think you're better off being a convicted felon and having what money you have left?
I think I'm better off having the means to be able to take care of my children.
You say it's 16 years before those kids are grown. You think you've been able to save enough to sustain you that period of time?
For 16 years, no. But I still have enough that I can take care of our monthly expenses as well as what we have coming in so that we're not living well, but we're not struggling. We're not on the street. I'm not out collecting cans.
Isn't your employability greatly diminished being a convicted felon?
Felons go out and get jobs every day. It's all based on your effort. If you go out and you keep looking and you find what you want, you're going to get something. There are people that come out of prison every day. Me having a felony on my record does not mean that stops my drive to find what I need to take care of my children.
But if that's true, wouldn't that have been exponentially more true if you weren't a convicted felon?
It is, but again, it's based on fraud.
We asked our Twitter fans earlier in the show if they ever left a young child unattended in a car, even for a few minutes, and here are the results. 29% said yes, 71% said no. Interesting. I want to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to attorney Benjamin Taylor and our online critics. If you found yourself in the middle of a media firestorm, go to drphil.com. Tell me about it. We'll see you next time. I think you told the story well. Best of luck with the purpose. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks so much, Ken. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.